Good morning, everyone. And it's lovely to see so many people here in the webinar. But it would be really great if you would go into the chat box and just say hello and tell us where you're from. That would be awesome, because otherwise it feels super lonely sitting here and just getting started on a webinar thinking that there's nobody there. So anybody like to start typing? Just a quick hello.
Lots of people typing. There we go.
Lots of people typing. Oh, hello. Hello, David from Tower Hill. Hello, Samantha from Portugal. Oh, you guys are just chilling out having cocktails there, I'm sure. Hello, Nick. Hello, Peter. Hello, Adam Stewart. There's two of you, by the way. Did you know that you managed to clone yourself?
We're
which,
twins.
by the way, is something we must
Can you do a webinar about that next time? Yeah.
Hello, Phil. Oh, even more Adam Stewarts. There's 4 of them. Hello, Milan. Hello, Ginny. Okay, I'm going to stop because this is getting boring. Hello, Charlotte, Gonzalo, and Saul. So,
good mix.
Thank you all so much for supporting these webinars. Obviously, we put them on in order to further our understanding. For all of us, those of us that are selling on Amazon have to be constantly awake, constantly learning. Everything is always changing, and particularly in these rather weird times that we live in. So just for those of you who've never participated before, a couple of quick words. On the right-hand side of your screens, you'll see the chat, and you can see who's who's adding comments, and that's lovely. And you can continue to do that through the webinar. And then towards the right-hand side of that, you've got questions, and it would be so much easier and cooler if we could separate chat from questions, and you could pop your questions into the questions area, because we're going to deal with them towards the end, and that'll help Christian, who's going to host that part of it, to identify all the questions and also make sure that we put answers in there. We will also try and type some answers in for you, but that's it. There's nothing else that's difficult about this, and I'm going to hand over to the guys at Nozzle, who are presenting and sponsoring this webinar to tell you all about PPC. Over to you guys.
Brilliant, thank you. Thanks, Shelley, and thanks, Christian. It's great to be here, and yeah, as you said, interesting times. So today let me actually firstly do that to make it bigger for everyone. So I'm going to introduce myself and my colleague as well, Shanil. We're going to talk to you about the PPC Audit tool, but also, of course, the what's on the forefront of everybody's mind is clearly everything that's going on with COVID. And so we've got a section on what we're seeing on the COVID side, and tips and sort of optimizations and how to think about that as well as part of this. So firstly, just a quick intro. My name is Rael. I'm co-founder of Nozzle. We're a London-based technology company. So I co-founded Nozzle about 3 years ago out of the computer science department, actually, at University College London, UCL. So a very strong focus on sort of data and data science and machine learning on what we do for Amazon. Effectively, we have 3 offerings right now. We do this audit tool, which is a freemium product, which is the subject of today. We do the bid management side of things. How do I run and set up, report on PPC campaigns? And we have a custom analytics product, which you're able to get granular information on your sales data and all that. So that's a quick intro for me. Shanil, do you want to do a quick intro? Then we can get stuck in right away.
Hey everyone, I'm Shanil. I'm part of the business development team at Nozzle. So as in prior to Nozzle, I had my own private label business. So I actually started on Amazon, God knows now, 2015, doing both online, Amazon, and kind of the old e-com channel. So I have some experience in terms of managing the PPCs and the whole Amazon ecosystem. So I'll be kind of taking over the PPC side of COVID-19, how you can manage and your PPC around this sort of time. So looking forward to your questions, and yeah, and get going.
Excellent. Cool. So let's get into it. So in terms of the Nozzle PPC audit tool, just breaking down this webinar into 5 sections. So what is it? Why should I actually care? What are the use cases? How do I make use of this tool? What are the future plans from it? And then, of course, a special offer at the end. The COVID section is going to come in section 3 there, which is the use cases and sort of the optimization part of that. So firstly, I think before we get into what it is, I just want to probably answer the why question. Why is it that we're creating a tool that audits your PPC campaigns in the first place? So for us, especially for me, being a software company and a sort of data science company, anything that we think is a repetitive task can be automated. And we think that this area is very, very underserved right now in terms of how to optimize your campaigns. I mean, yes, there's a lot of other tools that will do better, maybe reporting and things like that. But in actually breaking things down in terms of what do I actually need to know? How do I best use my time? Got 10 minutes to do some optimizations. How do I focus? Do I really need to download a search term reports and pivot tables and all that sort of stuff? And so we thought there's a big opportunity just to release a free tool really that can cut down considerable time on how to focus your efforts in terms of the PPC optimization. So that's the why component. So what is this tool? It's a self-serve product where you can create an account and log in. And it's based off Amazon's API, so we're an approved developer, vetting and all that sort of stuff. And once you connect your accounts, you can choose what you want to audit. Do I want to audit my whole account? Is it just individual campaigns? And really the 2 recurring themes are around wasted ad spend and missed ad revenue opportunities. And so, what we mean by that is where are you spending money with clicks and no conversions, and which are the biggest offenders that you need to take action. And then what are the missed ad revenue opportunities, meaning you might have a term that's converting pretty well, but actually it's unoptimized. You could actually be doing a better job on that if you had to isolate it and put it in exact match or anything like that. And so really the focus is to take instant actions to improve your performance there. I think it's quite timely as well, given the whole COVID situation. PPC, I guess, is always going to be important, but particularly right now, even though we've built a PPC tool, I'll be the first one to say, really, most of your time needs to be sorting out your cash flow issues, your inventory issues, getting on the phone with suppliers and freight forwarders, and all that sort of stuff. And so, if there's a way that you can at least buy some hours saved by the PPC tool to spend on those sorts of things, we'll consider that a job well done from the audit tool point of view as well. So just some examples of the sort of things that it can do. So per match type, meaning if you're running auto campaigns, phrase, broad, exact, or even product targeting campaigns, we call out the most impactful search terms that you should take action on. So on the top one there is saying these ones are sitting in, let's say, a broad campaign, and they're performing really well, but they're pretty unoptimized. You should be migrating these terms to exact match in general. And so we're just focusing your attention on literally here are the top 3 that you should be migrating to exact match. On the bottom section there, which is the opposite, is here are the top terms where you're spending money with clicks and no conversions. And so you should be taking action there as well. So you either want to negate them or you want to bid down on them or take some sort of action because, you're effectively wasting money at this point. Interestingly, I used the Amazon Prime example there. That is actually, of course, these numbers are, made up in demo, although the Amazon Prime one is literally a real example where we had a customer spending over £1,000 a month on Amazon Prime with clicks and no conversions. So, just getting in there, making a change immediately and seeing a result like that is instantly impactful. So we do this per match type. As I said, this is covering all the match types here. So some other things that it can do, it will break down your budget according to each of the match types. So I mean, people have different ways, I guess, of looking at this, but roughly speaking, for us, we would consider it into two buckets there, where research and performance campaigns. So research campaigns are broad, phrase, and auto, where you're meant to be uncovering new converting terms. But ultimately, once they're working and you're confident in them, you should be migrating them to exact match, because you have much more granular control over the price that you're paying, and you're only paying for that literally that exact term, of course. And so it's just what is your budget distribution across all of them, including the product targeting. And we also do an analysis there on the bottom, as you can see, on where the converting terms are actually happening. So for instance, in this example, you've got the vast majority of the terms that are converting in auto campaigns, which we would say is hugely unoptimized, right? I mean, auto is ultimately a research campaign, but you should be migrating them into exact match. And I guess probably preempting a question here, a question we get is, in this example, there's 10,500 converting search terms, of only 431 have been migrated to exact match. The common question we get is, well, who's got time to migrate 10,500 converting search terms? And should all of them even be migrated in the first place? So the answer to that is, I guess, twofold. I mean, number one, clearly with the automation software, you can automate that process if you want to. But secondly, literally just using this audit tool, we will call out the most impactful ones for you to go and migrate in the first place, right? The previous screen will tell you, as I said over here on the top here, this will outline, here are the top 3 for broad, here are the top 3 for phrase, here are the top 3 for each of those match types. And so again, just focusing your attention on the most impactful keyword harvesting that you can possibly do. The bottom there, which is the product targeting. So how many converting ASINs do you actually have as well? I mean, in our experience, we find this is quite underutilized. There are not many people using product targeting campaigns where you can target a brand, you can target an individual ASIN, etc. And we've seen some pretty good results with that, but it tends to be quite ignored. And so we call out that, hey, you've actually got quite a substantial number of converting ASINs here. You should consider setting up ASIN targeting campaigns, for instance. A couple other things here. So we do branded versus non-branded funnel analysis. So branded just simply means, literally what terms, if you're Nike, how many of the search terms include the word Nike, for instance, right? And so when you're setting up the audit, you have the ability to type in what you consider a branded search term to be. And the reason why we've split out these two funnels is that they're kind of used for quite different use cases. And as you can see from the funnel here, the funnels look very, very different, right? Typically for a branded funnel, you would have a higher click-through rate, you would have a higher conversion rate, and this is because somebody's already searching for your brand. Now, clearly there's a trade-off there, which is because it's only people searching for your brand, the audience is limited. There aren't going to be people searching for Nike is not as big as the number of people searching for sneakers, for instance. But how you use these funnels can be quite different. If you are looking to maximize new to brand customers, then you probably don't want to be spending that much on branded. But if it's kind of a defensive campaign because a competitor's launched something and they're targeting your ASINs or your terms, etc., your brand, then you do want to be spending on branded. So it's just a useful analysis to break down these two funnels because they look quite different. And I guess on Amazon and other reporting tools, they don't really break these things down, even though they should be, in our view at least, treated quite differently.
Sorry, can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
Because I have control. I can break all the rules. No. So when you're talking, so most of us are private label brand owners here. So our brands are going to be relatively unknown. Yeah. But does this work equally well in terms of letting us know about those other brands we might be targeting?
Yeah, well, the other brands would show up if you're converting against those terms, or if you're in this sort of, I don't know, top 5, top 10, or whatever it is in the list that we provide, and a competitor arrives there, then yeah, absolutely, a competitor will arrive there. You can also, if you want, type in competitor brands instead of your own when you're setting up the audit, and that will, break out the competitor terms if you have particular ones in mind as well. So there's ones that will come through if you don't know who they are, but then if you do know who they are, you want to type in, Reebok or Adidas or something. If you're Nike, there's the ability to type that in as well. Does that make sense?
AI, a lot of categories that we operate in, we would want to be able to say, because we're targeting those ASINs, and therefore those brands, we would want to be able to look at that analysis from a perspective of how am I doing against other people's brands that I'm trying to target. So, for example, I have a kitchen product, and I might be competing against Joseph and Joseph, or whatever they're called these days.
Yeah.
Some of those kind of brands, which aren't like a Nike, it's not really that well known on the one hand, and on the other hand, it has much more exposure than my own brand.
Sure. So that calling that out specifically is actually one of the things we're thinking about on the roadmap. So right now doing that isn't available, but I've got a section in this slide where we've got 4 things for the next iteration of this. I think that's something for us to consider, whether you're able to effectively type in competitor terms if you know them up front, and we can do an analysis of those as well. So it's not explicitly done right now, but we have been asked a few times whether we can incorporate that in the next version effectively. So, I would love to understand from the people on this webinar now, the priority. We've got a few ideas of what the next iteration will look like, but maybe we can do a poll or something like that to help prioritize that, to move it to the top of the list, and we can push that out quite quickly. So I'd love to understand that.
Okay, good.
Right. So one of the main questions here is, why should I care, right? And so for us, we were left pretty frustrated by I use Amazon's reporting tools, but there could be some other third-party tools you're already using that really lack the actionable insights, right? Yes, they can provide you with all this data, but at the end of the day, how best to use your time, right? How do I reduce the ACoS, or whatever your campaign goal is? How do I get there? And especially if in these times where you're wearing so many hats and you're worried about so many other things, you're constantly asking yourself the question, is this the best use of my time? And that's really the second bullet point there, where we're speaking to a lot of our customers where their focus now, rightly, as I said in the beginning, is on things like the supply chain and warehouse issues and payment terms and loans and all of that sort of stuff. So the time saving is probably the main use case here, and it's twofold. It's not just about saving time to get the same results. It's about saving time to get a much better result, right? And we've seen the use of our tools has reduced your ACoS substantially in sort of 2 to 4 weeks of implementing the suggestions and recommendations that come from it. So as I said, it's pretty fortuitous timing, I would say, on for all of this in terms of the time-saving element. I think that's probably the main reason why people should care about, at least using the free version of this, right? So what are the use cases for this? It's kind of two. I've outlined some sort of strategic ones here, which is just understanding whether your campaign outcomes, matching the results of your PPC campaigns to your bigger goals, right? And I think it's quite difficult to do. Again, there's no kind of existing tools that will help you do that in a decent way. So if you're focused, 2 examples here, if you're focused on increasing your reach and new to brand customers, then are you overspending on branded terms that limit your reach, right? So that branding funnel, for instance, that I showed you a little bit earlier, are you spending too much on brand? It's a quick way to just understand, is it 50% I should be spending on branded terms? Is it higher? Is it lower? What is that actual number? The actual branded analysis we do goes more into more detail than those 2 funnels, but just a quick check to see, is it actually matching up to my goals? The second one is perhaps you last did a competitor analysis a long time ago and you're wondering whether the competitor set has actually changed. Have some dropped out? Are there new entrants? All things like that. And again, should you change your budget allocation and focus on product targeting campaigns? So there's a quick breakdown of, hey, I'm spending most of my budget on auto or whatever it may be. But actually, now that a lot of competitors have either dropped out or there's some new competitors there, should I be changing my focus, especially if they're now targeting your terms, for instance? So those are kind of the more strategic ones. There's one that I've alluded to earlier, which is just on the optimization side, right? So running a report like this on a bi-weekly or monthly basis can save hours and hours worth of sifting through the search term reports and pivot tables and all that sort of stuff, just freeing up your time to do that. And so we've had, quite a few. Our users really span quite a large spectrum from FBA community to some of the very large CPG brands, household names, etc. But really, the results are quite consistent that we've seen, which is a decrease in ACOS of 10% and an increase in conversion rate of 40%, and even just total sales going up 20% in 1 month. I certainly don't want to. Certainly cannot promise any of this. It's very, very case by case, especially in these sort of COVID times. But just doing the report and implementing some of those recommendations, assuming your ACOS focused, can result in substantial ACOS decreases and time saved and money saved effectively. So I think I'm going to hand over to my colleague Shanil here, who's going to take. I think this is probably the part where most of the questions and concerns will be focused, which is, what do you do in the age of COVID-19 here in terms of PPC optimization?